The snowstorm swallowed the world like a hungry beast. Wyoming lay buried under white silence, and the wind howled against the wooden cabin as if trying to break in. Inside, Jax Thorne stood at the frost-covered window, staring into the storm with the stillness of a man who had seen too much. He was tall and sharp-boned, carved by violence and loneliness. His reputation as a gunslinger echoed across the territory. Yet the pistol hanging on the chair behind him had gathered dust for 2 long years. Ever since Clara died, the gunfighter became a father, and silence became his new enemy. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, sat near the fire, stringing popcorn for the small pine tree Jax had dragged inside that morning. Her boots were patched, her cheeks pink from the cold, and her little hands worked carefully as she hummed a tune. "Papa?" she asked quietly, "is the stagecoach still coming?" Jax didn't turn from the window, his jaw tightened. "It's due," he said, if the past didn't close. 3 months ago, he sent a letter to a matchmaking agency in St. Louis. The message was short and without romance. Widower seeks wife. Practical arrangement. Must be good with children. He didn't do it for love. Love was something he had buried along with Clara. He did it because a child needed more than cold walls and a father who rarely smiled. "I hope she likes snow," Lily whispered. Jax exhaled. "I hope she stays." Then, somewhere far beyond the pines, thunder rolled. Not thunder from the sky, but wheels grinding through ice. The stagecoach appeared, dark and heavy against the storm. Jax grabbed his coat. "Stay inside," he said. Lily nodded, but her eyes sparkled with hope. When the coach stopped, the driver tossed one battered carpet bag into the snow. Jax stepped forward, expecting a stout farm widow or a woman in wool ready for hardship. But what stepped out made him freeze. She was small, delicate almost, and dressed in a crimson silk gown, stitched in a style he had never seen. The high collar, the frog closures, the long slit skirt. It was foreign, beautiful, and completely useless in the Wyoming cold. Thin slippers peeked from beneath the dress, wrapped in rags to save her feet. She shivered so violently her teeth clicked. Her hair was black as midnight, wound into a tight bun. Her skin was pale from exhaustion, her eyes dark and alert. She looked like someone who had fought the world and lost everything but her pride. She was Chinese. The driver didn't wait for a word. He slapped the reins, eager to escape the storm and the presence of Jax Thorne, and the coach vanished into white silence. The woman clutched her bag with trembling fingers. "Mr. Thorne," she whispered, carefully pronouncing his name. "I am Minimum." Her voice was soft, almost fragile, but there was strength hidden inside it. Before Jax could speak, the cabin door creaked open. "She's here!" Lily shouted as she ran toward them. "Lily, get inside!" Jax snapped, though his voice held no anger. But Lily ignored him. She stopped in front of Min and stared at the silk dress fluttering in the wind. "Papa," she whispered, "she's freezing." Without hesitation, the little girl grabbed Min's icy hand. "Come inside. Papa keeps the fire hot." Min hesitated. Jax saw it. The fear, the doubt, the expectation of cruelty. He had seen that same look in men seconds before a duel. He stepped forward, lifted her bag, and jerked his head toward the door. "Inside before you both freeze." Min nodded and followed. The moment she stepped in, warmth washed over her. She stood near the entrance, snow melting around her feet. Her eyes moved slowly around the room. The gun belt on the wall, the simple table, the worn rocking chair, the ornaments Lily had made. Jax pointed to the big armchair near the fire. "Sit." Min shook her head. "I am wet. I will ruin." "It's leather," he cut in. "It'll dry." She obeyed. Lily hurried off and returned with a chipped porcelain cup decorated with faded blue flowers. "This was Mama's," Lily explained seriously. "She said it made coffee taste like spring." Jax stiffened. That cup hadn't been touched since Clara died. Min accepted it with both hands. "It is beautiful," she said softly. "Thank you for trusting me." Quote. She took a sip and closed her eyes as warmth spread through her. Jax leaned against the doorframe and studied her. The silk dress had been mended with tiny, perfect stitches. Every tear told a story. Poverty, hardship, survival. "You traveled far," he said. Min lowered the cup. "I traveled as far as needed," she answered. "I have no home, not anymore." "You sold the clothes I paid for," Jax said. "Why?" "To pay my late husband's debts," she replied. "I could not come to you owing another man's honor." Jax felt something shift inside him, respect. She had crossed a continent in winter, wearing silk and pride, and nothing else. Lily climbed onto her knee, touched the red fabric, and smiled. "You look like a Christmas story." Min smiled faintly. "No," she whispered, "just a woman looking for a place to rest." Jax pushed off the doorframe. "Lily," he said, "show Miss Min the spare room, and find her one of my shirts." As they disappeared down the hall, Jax stared at the small puddle melting onto his floor. He expected a burden. Instead, he had received a survivor. The storm eased overnight, but the cold still clung to the land like iron. By morning, the sky was pale blue, and sunlight bounced off thick snowdrifts. Inside the cabin, warmth and the smell of breakfast filled the air. Min moved quietly in the kitchen, wearing one of Jax's flannel shirts, cinched at the waist with rope. The sleeves were rolled high on her small forearms as she stirred the pot of stew simmering on the stove. Jax paused in the doorway and watched her. She moved with grace and purpose, not like someone visiting, but like someone rebuilding a life piece by piece. Lily sat at the table with braids in her hair, kicking her feet happily. "This tastes different," Jax muttered when Min handed him a bowl. Min lowered her eyes. "I added spices. I thought it may help the flavor." Jax ate in silence, but with each spoonful his expression softened. "It's good," he finally said. Min bowed her head slightly. "Thank you." What surprised Jax most wasn't her skills. It was her patience. She never raised her voice. She never frowned when Lily talked too much or spilled milk. She simply adjusted things around herself until everything ran smoother. Later that day, Jax went out to the barn to finish repairs. Snow crunched under his boots, and the air stung his lungs. While stacking tools, he heard Lily's laughter echo through the cold air. He walked to the barn door and stopped. Min and Lily sat wrapped in blankets on the porch. Min held newspaper squares carefully while showing Lily how to fold and cut patterns. "In my homeland," Min said softly, "we cut red paper for luck. But this will do." Lily lifted her finished pattern. "It looks like snow," she said. Min smiled gently. "It is called the endless knot. It means long life and happiness." Lily whispered, "Papa needs happiness." Jax stepped back deeper into the barn shadows, unseen. He felt something tighten in his chest. Not pain exactly, but something unfamiliar. For 2 years, every sound reminded him of loss, but Lily's laughter now sounded different. It sounded like life returning. Christmas morning arrived bright and quiet. The world was covered in flashing snow crystals glittering in the early light. Lily woke Jax early, tugging his sleeve. "Papa, come on, please." He rubbed his tired eyes and followed her into the main room. Under the tree rested a few simple gifts, but Lily went straight to the fireplace mantel. There rested a small doll, stitched carefully from scraps of Min's red silk dress. The face was sewn with tiny thread, and the doll's black yarn hair was braided just like Lily's. Lily hugged it tightly. "Miss Min made this," she said breathlessly. "Look, Papa, she saved the pretty red pieces." Min stepped into the room holding a tray of biscuits. She stood uncertainly, waiting for approval. "It is simple," she murmured. "I had little to work with." Lily shook her head. "It's perfect." She hugged Min's waist. Min froze, emotional surprise flickering across her face. Then slowly, she placed one trembling hand on Lily's hair. That small moment spoke louder than any vow. Jax cleared his throat and reached into his pocket. He placed a small wooden carving on the table. A bird, wings open as if frozen in flight. "I made it," he said quietly. "For you." Min picked it up gently, fingertips tracing the wings. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "No one has ever carved something for me." "You reminded me of you," Jax said. "Something built to fly." Min lifted her gaze, and for the first time she didn't hide her eyes from him. "Thank you, Jax," she whispered. Hearing her speak, his name sent a shock through him. Soft but powerful. 2 days later, the roads cleared. Supplies were low, and the winter ahead was long. Jax hitched the wagon. "You're coming," he told Min. "We're getting you proper clothes." Min hesitated. "I do not wish to make trouble." "You're part of this home now," he said, leaving no room for doubt. Lily sat happily between them as the wagon rolled into town. But as soon as they stepped onto the boardwalk, everything changed. Whispers, stares, judging eyes. A group of townsfolk stopped and stared at Min. Her foreign dress peeked beneath Jax's oversized coat, and her thin shoes peeked from the hem. "Mrs. Umball," Higgins stepped forward, chin lifted, voice sharp. "Well," she said loudly, "I heard the Gunslinger sent for a wife, but I did not expect this." Her voice dripped insult. "A foreigner," she scoffed, "and dressed like some heathen circus." Min froze. Her chin lifted, but her hands shook. Jax turned. The boardwalk went silent. "You got something to say about her?" he asked. Mrs. Higgins faltered. "It's improper. It makes the town look." "Listen careful," Jax interrupted, voice steady and cold. "This woman crossed a continent in winter. She paid debts she didn't owe. She has more courage than anyone here." No one breathed. Jax stepped closer. "She's under my roof, under my protection. Anyone with a problem can bring it to me." Mrs. Higgins backed away, pale and shaking. Others lowered their eyes. One man finally spoke. "Morning, Jax." "Ma'am." Min blinked in surprise. Inside the general store, Min trembled. "I brought you shame," she whispered. Jax turned her toward him, his hands warm and rough. "No," he said. "You brought truth. They just don't like the taste." Quote, he lifted a heavy blue wool coat with fur trim. "This one," he said, "matches your eyes." Min looked up, startled. "My eyes are dark." "Best thing about winter nights," Jax said softly. She held the coat to her chest. For the first time, she smiled fully, not with caution, but with hope. Winter slowly loosened its grip on the Wyoming mountains. Snow melted into rivers, and the frozen world softened into mud, then grass. With each passing day, the cabin no longer felt like a place haunted by memories. It felt lived in again. Warm, breathing. Min settled into their life almost as if she had been there forever. She mended clothes with careful stitches, cooked meals that warmed bone and spirit, and gently brought light back into places Jax thought were gone forever. But most of all, she tended to Lily, not just feeding or teaching her, but listening to her in a way only a patient heart could. Jax found himself lingering near the kitchen doorway just to hear their laughter. It changed something inside him each time. One evening after supper, Lily rushed to the loft where her small bed waited. Min washed dishes at the wooden counter, sleeves rolled up, hair loose around her shoulders. Jax leaned against the table and watched her hands move. Steady, careful, graceful. "She calls you Mama sometimes," he said quietly. Min paused. The water stilled around her wrists. "I know," she whispered. I correct her softly. "I do not want to take another woman's place." "She's been gone a long time," Jax said. The words were heavy but not painful like before. Clara wouldn't want Lily to grow up lonely. Min dried her hands and turned to him. "Grief is like winter," she said softly. "Cold, long, but spring comes." Jax breathed out slowly. "I'm tired of winter." Min looked at him with stillness, waiting, not pushing. Jax reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold ring. His hands had never shaken during a gunfight, but they shook now. "I sent for someone to help raise Lily," he said. "But I didn't expect to want more." He swallowed. "I don't want you here because I need help. I want you here because you belong, because you've given my home something I thought I'd never feel again." "Hope." Min blinked fast. tears building. "What are you asking, Jax Thorne?" Jax knelt in front of her, rough hands holding hers gently. "Stay as my wife, not a guest, not a hired helper. Stay because you want to." Silence settled around them, warm and safe. Min placed her palm against his scarred cheek. "I came here with nothing," she whispered. "No home, no family, no future." A tear slipped free. "But here, I found all three." Her voice broke. "Yes, Jax, I will stay." Jax let out a shaky breath he had been holding for years. He pulled her into his arms, not with hesitation, but with certainty. And for the first time in 2 years, the cabin felt whole. Spring painted the valley in green and violet. Crocuses, tiny purple blooms Clara had planted long ago, pushed through thawing earth. Lily ran barefoot through the grass, chasing a butterfly while laughter echoed across the land. Min sat on the porch in a blue dress she had sewn herself. Around her neck lay a scarf fashioned from what remained of the red silk dress she'd arrived in, a reminder of where she came from and how far she'd come. Jax sat beside her, polishing his rifle out of habit more than need. The Peacekeeper pistol still hung inside the cabin, untouched. He no longer needed it to feel safe. Min looked toward the crocuses swaying in the breeze. "Clara planted those," Jax said quietly, "years ago." Min nodded. "They are strong flowers," she said. "They survive winter and bloom again." Jax set the rifle aside and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him, and he kissed the top of her head gently. "That's what you are," he murmured. "Something strong that survived." Min rested her hand over his. "No," she whispered, "not survived, found." Lily ran to the porch, breathless. "Papa! Mama Min! Look at the sky!" They looked up. The sunset painted the mountains in gold and soft pink, warm colors full of promise. Peace settled over the land, not fragile, but deep and rooted. Jax exhaled, a long, steady breath he didn't realize he'd held since the day Clara died. Min turned her face toward him. "Are you happy now, Jax?" He pulled her closer. "Yes," he said, "more than I ever thought I could be." And there, in the quiet spring light, with a child playing, flowers blooming, and a new life unfolding, the gunslinger finally laid down his past. Min had arrived in rags, but she brought something winter could never bury: hope. And in that little Wyoming cabin, hope became home.